However, some very important things have been happening in Chile in the last couple of years. It looks like that tongue, that I talk about in this excerpt from the novel, that Chile seemed to start recovering in the 80s, has really exploded. Street demonstrations initiated by the student movement in 2011 brought to the forefront the inadequacies of the economic model, of the political model, the injustices that are still happening. We cannot forget, for example, that Chile is still being ruled by the Pinochet Constitution of 1980. So the students began the whole movement, but they have been followed by all kinds of sectors of society. And today we have all walks of life on the streets, demanding better working conditions, an improved wage. Ecological issues are at the forefront of many of the fights. Healthcare, education, you name it. Everybody is out on the streets demanding rights that they have not had for many, many years. And at the same time, the country is getting prepared for an election in which there are 9 candidates, and the 2 main candidates are 2 women. That's interesting. What is even more interesting, I find, though, is that these 2 women are daughters of 2 Air Force generals. Michelle Bachelet is the daughter of Alberto Bachelet, a general of the Air Force who supported Allende. And because he supported Allende, he was tortured and he was imprisoned after the coup, and he died a few months later in prison. Evelyn Matei is the daughter of the Matei that supported the coup, a general as well, and who not only supported the coup but was part of the military junta during the 80s, was Pinochet's Minister of Health, and obviously at the other end of the spectrum. So here today we have, in many ways, this symbolic situation of 2 women, daughters of 2 generals, sitting at 2 ends of the teeter-totter. However, we have to qualify that Bachelet, even though she is center-left, she's a social democrat, and there are no huge changes that she's proposing. She's proposing a reform to the education system, a new constitution, and a reform to the tributary system. However, the neoliberal economic model that has ruled Chile since the time of the dictatorship continues to be in place, will continue to be in place, and Chile is for sale and has been for sale for decades now. Everything is privatized, and that's the struggle that the people of Chile are waging right now. The other important thing to mention is that together with this, it seems like Chile is finally recovering its memory. For decades, the country suffered from a collective amnesia. Salvador Allende, the coup, the dictatorship, what's that? We don't want to talk about that. We have to look towards the future, there's no need to dwell in the past. However, since the students began this movement, this incredible movement, things have been opening up. And now, in commemoration of the 40 years of the coup, there has been a program that has been shown on open television. For the first time in Chile, Chileans have been able to see the images of the brutality of the dictatorship on TV at prime time. And the program has broken all viewership records and has gone viral on YouTube. It's called The Forbidden Images. Not only that, what the producers have done is that they've brought to the masses these images, and they have also carried out interviews with the reporters, the journalists that shot that footage, and the protagonists of the footage that managed to survive the violence. So it has made for an incredibly document that people have had access at prime time every Wednesday evening, to the extent that it surpassed the ratings of the most popular soap opera that is broadcast at the same time on a different channel. You know, the Forbidden Images has gone higher, which is really, really telling of what is happening in Chile today. So we have a convergence of factors right now that is gives us hope, and that really makes us look to the past so that we can actually move forward. And finally, the other interesting thing is that there are a lot of right-wing people, characters, up there. Oh, they're asking for forgiveness, and they're being showing regrets because they didn't act, during the dictatorship. Everybody's kind of jumping on the bandwagon of the reconciliation by just saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't do more. I'm so sorry that I didn't notice what was going on," etc. And I don't think Chileans will buy that kind of. I hope that they won't. So we'll see what happens on November 17th during the election. So we should open it for questions now.
I don't feel comfortable either, because I'm not up to date on the very latest news about Venezuela. I would say, however, that I think the difference, which is a good thing for Venezuela, is that Venezuela has the army that is loyal to the government, right? Mm-hmm. Allende had absolutely nobody in the army, and the few people that were in the army were immediately killed. And I would also say that is probably the main reason why Bachelet didn't do much, right, is because she would not have had the army on her side. So the great thing about Chavez is that he was a military man, and he had the army with him. So as you know, that was not referred to as an armed revolution, but it is referred to as a revolution with arms, yeah. Right? So I think that's the main difference. And from what I understand, the Venezuelan people really do support and are willing to do anything. They were willing to do anything for Allende too during the time of the coup, and went out into the streets and fought. Again, the big difference is they had nothing to fight with. Mm-hmm. So they literally had a stone against this U.S.-backed coup in Chile. So I have faith in Venezuela. I really, mm-hmm. really do. And there are many, many, many people in Canada who support Venezuela. You would never know it from the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to the Bachelet question, Bachelet was the president when Chile was still on that let's see mode, okay? For a good 20 years, 23 now, Chile has been on that mode of being very tentative, of being, the Concertación has continued to do just to maintenance kind of stuff, right? Oh, we don't want to ruffle any feathers. We don't. But then what's happened now is that they cannot go, they cannot do that anymore because the people are demanding things. So now that they know that the people want these things and that Chile has recovered its memory. I don't think that Bachelet is lying in terms of what she wants to do. Whether she will be able to do it, that's a different story. The situation is such that now she's very popular. Most likely she will win the election. She's part of a new coalition that is called the New Majority, La Nueva Mayoría, which brings together what was before the Concertación, but it has added on the Communist Party of Chile, which has been very, very consistent in their positions. So there is a possibility that things may actually change for the better. And in terms of the regional organizations, economic organizations, it's been interesting that Chile has not been part of any of those regional organizations like Mercosur and all of those that try to incentivize trade as opposed to the neoliberal forces from outside. But because Chile is so locked into this extreme neoliberal model, that's been really the hurdle, and I don't know how far the new government will go to try to get out out of that model in some way. I say, yeah.
Michelle Bachelet has said that she wants to support a new constitution. Mm-hmm. And we know, like, people who pay attention know that in Venezuela, Bolivia, Ecuador, they all created a new constitution, a democratic constitution that was created with the full participation of the people, and they now have democratic constitutions. I think we need one in Canada, too.
I think we have time for one more. Yeah?
So many people talk about youth and what we can do about everything that is happening right now in this moment. Not only in Latin America, but in North America and in the Middle East and all over the world. And sometimes we are left without examples to follow. And sometimes we are easily manipulated by mass media. In my generation, we have so many other different circumstances, but we sometimes are oblivious to what is happening in the world because we're too self-centered. And for me, really, it's just like for me, really, your example is to establish that relationship as a family, as an united America, talking of all America. Mm-hmm. And as a united world. Mm-hmm. So what were your motivations as a mother and a daughter? And what would you say to this youth, and not only the youth, but the children and the adults that are here present?
I think the motivation for me was the opening passage that I read, right? Which was Allende's final speech, which I was unbelievably lucky enough to hear at the age of 5. And what I say at the end of that passage is that his voice and the message that was in that voice was burned into my core forever, that this is not me trying to be dramatic, that is actually the truth. And I do feel extremely fortunate to have been raised by Bob Everton, whose son is here today, and my mother, and the Chilean community, who were very young at that time, who were youths. Like when we went back to Bolivia, you were 30, right? Bob was 29. And when we got here, my mother was in her early 20s. So to me, that was the way to be. Like everybody that I was raised by, I was extraordinarily fortunate, believed in giving their life to a bigger cause, and that you were put on this earth to give. As you say, we do live in a consumer society where you are what you buy. And I don't know, I do feel hopeful with the youth here. I mean, I'm very, very, very moved and inspired by the Idle No More movement, which is youth-based, which is woman-based. I'm inspired by the Occupy movement, by the student movements of Quebec. So I think there is a lot going on, and the mainstream media will do anything and everything in its power to pretend that nothing's going on, right? So we need to keep ignoring the mainstream media and keep looking for alternative media to get our information. And when we look at the alternative media, we do realize that there is so much going on in Canada, and that it's not just you are what you buy, that there is a big movement happening. There's a lot happening here. We just need to keep our ear to the ground. Yeah.
Thank you very much.